She thought it was just a delivery mistake. A rainy night. The wrong address. A door left slightly open. But when Mia stepped inside that billion-dollar mansion, everything changed. The art on the walls? Priceless. The man who greeted her? Silent. Intense. And when she turned to leave, he locked the door. What did he see in her? Why didn't he let her go? This isn't just a story about a girl who entered the wrong house. It's about power, control, and a secret so big, even he couldn't hide it forever. What happened inside that mansion will haunt them both forever. And it all started with a knock that was never supposed to happen. Mia Santiago never intended to walk into that house. She wasn't trespassing. She wasn't desperate. She wasn't even late. She was just tired, hungry, soaked to the bone, and carrying a bag of lukewarm takeout that smelled like overcooked noodles and cheap soy sauce. At just 19, Mia had already mastered the art of survival. Raised in a crumbling apartment complex on the east side of Detroit, she juggled 2 part-time jobs, a scholarship barely covering her community college tuition, and a mother whose health was declining faster than their electricity could stay on. Rain slashed sideways across the windshield of the borrowed moped she'd ridden into Bloomfield Hills, a neighborhood so rich, even the driveways sparkled like polished marble. Her GPS had rerouted twice before finally directing her to 12 Ravenswood Lane. She should have known something was wrong the moment she saw the gates. Or maybe it was the fact that the mansion beyond them looked like it belonged in a magazine about royalty, not ramen deliveries. Still, Mia did what she always did. She pushed forward. Umbrella snapped by the wind, sneakers squishing with every step, she approached the towering double doors, oak carved with symbols she didn't recognize. No doorbell. Just a brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. She knocked once. Waited. No answer. Then came the rumble. A low, mechanical hum. The door creaked open, slowly, eerily. Just enough for someone small and soaked to peer inside. Just enough for Mia. "Hello?" she called, voice echoing against marble floors and golden banisters. Nothing. No footsteps. No voices. No shadows. Just silence, and a single trail of light leading down the hallway like a beacon. She hesitated. But the bag in her hand was getting cold. The app on her phone showed, "Order accepted." And the thunder outside shook the trees like warning bells. So she stepped in. And the door behind her closed. "You're not the usual girl," said a voice. Come." With the quiet chill of someone who didn't need to raise his tone to be heard. Mia spun around. At the top of the staircase stood a man in a tailored black shirt and no shoes. His eyes were sharp, blue like frost. His hair slightly tousled, like he hadn't slept in days. He held a book in one hand and something metallic in the other. Was it a remote? I'm just here for the delivery," she stammered. He descended the stairs like he was gliding. "Then why did you come through the front?" he asked. "I knocked. The door opened. The staff uses the side entrance." "I didn't know," she said, trying to take a step back. The door was no longer behind her. It had disappeared into the wall. Seamless. Like it had never existed. What Mia didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that she had just walked into the private residence of Damien Lockhart. Billionaire tech mogul. Reclusive investor. A man who hadn't given a public interview in 7 years. A man known for firing his own board of directors via encrypted message. And, if rumors were to be believed, someone who once made a woman disappear just because she leaked a photo of his living room. So why wasn't he angry? Why wasn't he shouting? Why was he smiling? "You're already inside," Damien said, gesturing toward the hallway. "Let's not pretend like you're leaving just yet." Mia clutched the takeout bag tighter. "I'm sorry, I can just." "You're cold. What?" And clearly lost. He walked past her and pressed something into the wall. A panel opened, revealing a fireplace roaring to life. "You may as well eat." And just like that, she was no longer a delivery girl. She was a guest. According to tech columnist Jody Lynn, who once attempted to cover a profile on Lockhart's estate but was denied entry even to the security gate, Damien Lockhart doesn't let people in. Not friends. Not lovers. Not even business partners. The fact that a stranger is standing inside that house? Something is very, very wrong. And it was. Because as Mia stepped further inside, she noticed something strange. A portrait on the wall. A woman with dark curls. Big eyes. Olive skin. She looked Exactly like Mia. Mia couldn't stop staring at the portrait. The frame was gold. Real gold, she guessed, from the way it shimmered under the chandelier's glow. The woman in the painting had soft, intelligent eyes, a poised expression, and her face was undeniably similar to Mia's. Not just in features but in aura. The same cheekbones. The same hair, only brushed out and elegant. Even the same birthmark near the left eye. It wasn't just resemblance. It was uncanny. "Is that your sister?" Mia asked cautiously. Damien Lockhart didn't answer. Instead, he walked past the fireplace, placed the silver remote onto a glass table, and sat in a leather armchair that looked like it belonged in a villain's office. "She was someone important," he said at last. Then silence. "Not is. Was." Mia clutched the food bag tighter. Every instinct told her to leave. But the room, like the whole mansion, seemed to pull her in. Velvet curtains. Marble floors. A grand piano in the corner, untouched but tuned. It felt like a trap disguised as paradise. She placed the food on a small side table. Damien glanced at it. "You don't have to serve me." I wasn't," she said. "I just thought." His eyes lingered on her. Then, "Have you ever been told you look like someone from a painting before?" She shook her head. "Well," he said, picking up the takeout bag, "you just did." Elsewhere, far from the mansion, someone was watching. In a dark room filled with security monitors, a woman in a headset leaned forward. "Target has entered the main hall," she whispered into her mic. "Subject D is engaging." A male voice crackled back. "Do not intervene." "Repeat, do not interrupt the sequence. Let it play out." The woman hesitated. "But sir, if she sees room 12? Let it happen." Back at the mansion, Mia's curiosity was boiling. The portrait haunted her. And Damien's cryptic behavior wasn't helping. "So who was she?" Mia asked, unable to resist. "My mother," he said simply. "She looked just like me." "She was just like you." Mia blinked. "What does that mean?" He leaned forward. "Sit." "I really shouldn't." "You're here now. Might as well know why." Mia sat, perched on the edge of the velvet sofa, still dripping from the rain, her sneakers leaving damp marks on the floor. Damien locked eyes with her. "My mother died 15 years ago." "I'm sorry." "She was born in Puebla. Raised in the States. Grew up poor like you. Except she didn't deliver food. She made it. Street tacos. $4 a plate." He paused. "I hated those tacos." A strange smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "But she worked hard. Scrubbed floors. Cleaned offices. Did whatever she had to do. And one day, she married a man she wasn't supposed to love." Mia's breath hitched. "Your father?" He nodded. "A man 25 years older. A billionaire. The press called it a scandal. My family called it treason. But he loved her. And she changed everything." Damien pointed at the painting. "She saved him. Just by being herself." Mia shifted uncomfortably. "So why does she look like me?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stood and motioned for her to follow. "Come. There's something you need to see." Down the hallway, past the grand piano and a row of locked doors, he stopped at one with a golden keyhole. Room 12. It opened with a mechanical click. Inside, walls covered in photographs. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All of her. Mia. Different angles. Different clothes. Some from behind. Some from far away. One looked like it was taken while she worked the cash register at her evening job. Another looked like it was from high school. She froze. "What is this?" Damien said nothing. According to Dr. Lena Carver, a forensic psychologist who studied obsessional behavior in ultra-high net worth individuals, the more isolated the mind, the more distorted the desires. When someone has no one to say no to them, they build their own reality. A reality where even strangers become characters in a story only they control. Mia backed away. "This is insane," she said. "You've been watching me?" Damien looked unbothered. "No," he said. "I've been waiting." Mia's heart was racing. The photos, the files, the sheer number of images tacked to the walls made the room feel like a shrine, or worse, a crime scene. She staggered back, her mind scrambling for an explanation. Anything that would make this seem logical. "Why would you have pictures of me?" she asked, her voice breaking. Damien didn't move. He simply stood there, hands in his pockets, calm as ever. I didn't take them, he said. They were collected. For years. By who? I hired people, he replied. Private contractors. Investigators. Some of them didn't even know who they were following. Mia's knees buckled and she nearly collapsed onto a nearby chair. He had paid people to follow her? For what? She snapped. Some sick obsession? No, he said. To prove a theory. In the corner of the room sat a filing cabinet. Damien walked to it, pulled open a drawer, and retrieved a manila folder stamped with a single name, Santiago. He handed it to Mia. Inside were documents, birth certificates, medical records, school photos. Her school photos. Her mother's hospital bills. Her scholarship application. Even an X-ray of her fractured wrist from when she was 12 and fell off a bike. She looked up at him, horrified. You went through my life? I had to, he said. I needed to confirm the connection. What connection? Damien hesitated. Then quietly, you're not just a girl from the wrong neighborhood. You're something much more than that. Across the mansion, in a sealed room behind tinted glass, 2 men in suits were watching the footage from room 12. She's seen the files, one of them muttered. It's too early. The other shook his head. No. He's accelerating the timeline. He's testing her. Testing her for what? To see if she breaks. Mia stared down at the file in her lap. My mom doesn't even know who my father is, she said, her voice quiet now. Damien sat opposite her. And maybe that's not by accident. He tapped one of the papers. This says your mother was admitted to St. Agnes Hospital in June 2005. So, my father was at that hospital the same week. Mia blinked. Wait, are you saying? I don't know for sure, Damien said. But I have reason to believe we may share blood. Mia stood up so fast the chair screeched. No, this is insane. This is some messed up experiment or fantasy or... I'm trying to protect you. From what? He walked over to a control panel on the wall, pressed a button, and a hidden monitor emerged. A video played. In the footage, a young woman, Mia's mother, speaking to a man in shadows. You promised me she'd never know, the woman said. You said she'd be safe. She will be, the man replied. But if something happens to me, Lockhart has to take care of her. Mia's breath caught in her throat. That's not real, she whispered. It's real, Damien said. And it's why you're here. Elsewhere, at a secret facility labeled Lockhart Industries, Archives. A white-haired woman reviewed an encrypted file marked Project Sundial. Her assistant leaned in. We've got a problem. Subject 47 has entered phase recognition. The woman's hand froze. Then the girl isn't just another variable, she said. She's the catalyst. Back in the mansion, Mia tried to leave again, but the hallway was no longer the same. The doors had changed. The staircase curved in the opposite direction. What is this? She gasped. Damien appeared behind her. You weren't supposed to come in this way, he said. But now that you have. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a black key card. You need to see what's behind the red room. According to tech security expert Nolan Reeves, who previously worked on AI mapping for smart homes like Lockhart's estate, Damien Lockhart doesn't live in a house. He lives in a machine. Every door, every wall, every window, controlled, programmed, and mapped. If someone enters by mistake, they're not a guest. They're part of the code now. Mia gripped the key card. I didn't ask for this. No, Damien agreed. But the system did. The red room wasn't red. At least not in the way Mia expected. There were no walls soaked in crimson paint. No velvet curtains. No horror movie flicker of warning lights. It was sterile. Metallic. Cold. More like a laboratory than a room. The floors gleamed under fluorescent bulbs. The walls were white but tinted slightly with gray. Everything had been stripped of warmth, except for the single chair bolted to the center of the floor, facing a cylindrical glass chamber with a biometric scanner beside it. What is this? Mia asked, clutching the black key card Damien had handed her. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he walked over to the scanner, inserted his hand, and waited as the machine blinked red, then green. With a slow hiss, the chamber opened. You need to sit down, he said. Mia shook her head. No. This is too much. I know, he replied almost gently. But this room will answer the question you've been avoiding since you walked through that door. What question? Who you are. In the adjacent wing, the two suited men from earlier monitored Mia's vitals on a digital dashboard. Cortisol spiked, one of them said. She's on the edge. Should we activate suppression? The other man shook his head. No. If she's the match, she'll balance out within 60 seconds. And if she's not? Then none of this will matter anyway. Mia sat. She didn't know why. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe fear. Maybe the idea that if she didn't sit, she might never get another chance to leave. As soon as she touched the seat, the chamber lit up. A voice, female, synthetic, echoed through hidden speakers. Identity verification commencing. Subject, S47. Scan in progress. What is this? Mia cried. Why are you calling me that? Damien stood with his hands behind his back. It's your project ID. I'm not a project. The scanner pulsed, then displayed a holographic web of Mia's face, overlaying several others, some aged, some younger, all with slight variations. A voice chimed again. Subject genome match, 99.87% with Lockhart origin. Mia's blood turned to ice. I don't understand, she whispered. Damien stepped forward. My father had a contingency plan. In the early 2000s he funded a biotech experiment in Mexico, designed to preserve certain traits he believed were essential to the future of humanity. He made clones? Damien shook his head. Not clones. Templates. Hybrids. Children born through manipulated genetics and isolated environments. Most didn't survive. Mia's mouth dropped open. You're saying I'm part of that? Not just part of it, Damien said. You're the last one. In a locked archive below the mansion, a technician flipped through sealed folders labeled with initials. S01, S02, S03, all the way to S46. Each one stamped, deceased. Except for the last. 47, active. Mia stood up so fast the chair crashed to the floor. This is insane. I have a mother. I have memories. We didn't implant memories, Damien said. You were raised like any other child. But your existence was planned. Monitored. Why me? Because you survived, he said. You weren't supposed to. According to biogeneticist Dr. Amelia Gratz, who spoke anonymously about early genome manipulation efforts linked to private U.S. funders, there were rumors, never confirmed, of human enhancement programs wrapped in orphanage funding. If even one case survived naturally and undetected into adulthood, it would change everything. Because it means they didn't just build a prototype. They built a legacy. Mia pressed her back to the wall. So what now? You keep me here like some experiment? No, Damien said. You leave, or you stay. But either way you need to know the truth. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a tablet. On it, video footage played of a younger Mia, much younger, running through a hallway that wasn't her home. Steel floors. Bright lights. Scientists in lab coats. I've never seen this, she said. Your memories were rerouted, he explained. To protect you. From who? He looked her in the eyes. From me. Suddenly the lights flickered. A siren blared. On the control screens, protocol breach, code violet. In the surveillance room, the woman in the headset leapt up. She triggered it. The older man cursed. She wasn't supposed to remember this fast. Mia screamed as the walls of the red room began to shift, literally moving outward, separating into panels. Behind them, wires. Machinery. Monitors showing dozens of other girls, each with different faces, all watching her. Those aren't real, Mia muttered. But they were blinking. Breathing. One by one their eyes turned red. The lights dimmed to an unnatural hue. Everything glowed with a soft violet sheen, like the world had been dipped in ultraviolet ink. The walls of the red room were no longer just shifting, they were unfolding. Behind each panel was a narrow pod, lined in surgical steel. And in each pod, a girl. Breathing. Suspended. Hooked to wires. Some were older. Some younger. Some had Mia's eyes. Others her bone structure. But all of them were her. What is this? She cried. Damien's face had changed. No longer calm. No longer collected. Now, terrified. Something's wrong, he muttered. They were never supposed to wake up. Mia stumbled back toward the center of the room, her hands trembling. What do you mean they weren't supposed to wake up? They're residual templates, he said. Failed integrations. Ghosts of the program, shut down years ago. This room was sealed. Then how did this happen? He didn't answer. But above them, in a high-security room Mia didn't know existed, a woman in a military-grade uniform turned to the man beside her. She triggered the neural cascade. The man adjusted his tie nervously. Which means? She's the primary. Back inside the red room, one of the pods opened. Steam hissed out. A single girl stepped forward. She looked identical to Mia. Only her posture was stiff. Her eyes blank. Like a weapon waiting for orders. Subject 11, Damien whispered. The girl spoke in perfect monotone. S-47 is in breach. Protocol Violet activated. Defaulting to preservation directive. Mia backed away. What does that mean? It means, Damien said, pulling her behind him, they're coming to erase you. Elsewhere, a voiceover from Dr. Miles Renner, former engineer of the Lockhart Human Continuity Project. Protocol Violet was created as a kill switch. A final firewall. If any one subject reached cognitive awareness of her true origin, all other dormant subjects would be mobilized to destroy the anomaly. Because consciousness wasn't part of the plan. Mia didn't want to believe it. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But as the other pods opened and more versions of herself stepped forward, each one blinking into existence like a nightmare factory, she knew nothing about her life had ever been hers. Damien grabbed her arm. We need to get to the override chamber. Now. He punched a code into a steel panel. The wall split open, revealing a descending elevator lined in reinforced glass. Where does it go? She asked. To the core. They stepped in. The door closed. Silence returned. As the elevator dropped, the walls flashed with biometric readings. Mia's name. Blood type. Neural map. And underneath it all, a countdown. 11 minutes and 44 seconds. What is that? She asked. Damien didn't look at her. If Protocol Violet reaches 0, he said, the entire facility self-purges. You mean it explodes? He nodded. Everything. All files. All data. All subjects. Including you. Why would your father build something like that? Because he feared what he couldn't control. Including his own creations. In the surveillance suite, chaos. Operators were shouting over one another. A red warning blared across every screen. Violet breach. Subject is 47 escape in progress. A command was issued. All reconstructions. Eliminate S-47. On the monitors, the pods emptied. 12 girls now moved through the facility, in sync. Silent. Surgical. Hunting her. The elevator opened into a room unlike anything Mia had seen. Walls lined with servers. Lights blinking in symmetrical rhythms. At the center, a circular console with 2 hand scanners. Damien rushed forward. You need to authorize shutdown. I don't know how. You don't need to. The system will recognize you. She placed her hand on the pad. The system lit up. S-47 authorization recognized. Final decision required. 2 options appeared. Purge. Release. Mia turned to Damien. What does it mean? Purge wipes everything. Even you. Release sets the other subjects free. Mia's hand hovered. Are they even human? Damien's eyes were glassy. They're as human as you are. As I am. She looked back at the screen. 37 seconds. According to a leaked statement from anonymous source Ravenline, a whistleblower inside Lockhart's secret facility. They didn't build weapons. They built girls who weren't allowed to choose. That's why the system fears the primary. Because she chooses. Mia slammed her palm down on the panel. Release. The system froze. Then pulsed. Every monitor blinked white. In the facility, the girls stopped moving. One by one they collapsed. Not dead. But asleep. Reset. Damien exhaled. You did it. But Mia shook her head. No, she whispered. I woke them up. The silence was suffocating. The console stopped blinking. The girls, Mia's duplicates, had dropped to the floor across the facility. Some curled gently into fetal positions. Others simply lay still, breathing steadily. like children finally free from a nightmare they couldn't name. But Damien wasn't relieved. He looked pale, shaken. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he whispered. Mia stared at him, still near the console. "What do you mean? You said I could choose." "I chose to set them free." "Yes," Damien said. "And that's the problem." In the surveillance control hub, the remaining operators had frozen, unsure what to do. But then one screen began flickering, one feed reactivating. Camera 7B, sublevel archives. The pod marked S00 was empty. The operator stammered, "Wait, we had a 0 subject?" The woman in uniform leaned in. "Impossible. She was terminated with Phase 1. But the monitor didn't lie. Subject 0 was awake. And she was gone." Back inside the core chamber, Damien turned to the console again, typing furiously. Mia demanded, "What aren't you telling me?" "There were 13, he muttered. "Not 12. The girls?" He nodded. 12 were attempts. "You're the final prototype. But the first, the original, she wasn't like the others. She was unstable." Mia's mouth went dry. "You're saying there's another version of me, one even you couldn't control?" "She wasn't just a version," Damien said. "She was aware from the beginning." "Then where is she?" "I don't know." In a hidden corridor, security footage showed a young woman walking barefoot down a dark hallway. She looked like Mia, but older, sharper. Her movements fluid like a dancer, but cold like a machine. Subject 0 had awakened, and she was smiling. According to Dr. Helix Ward, a rogue AI ethics researcher who leaked a portion of the Lockhart genetic protocols 5 years prior, the greatest danger in artificial augmentation isn't failure. It's success. When you create something that can learn, feel, adapt, it will inevitably ask why it was created at all. And when it realizes the answer is control, it will choose freedom. At any cost. Mia paced the core chamber. "We need to shut it all down." Damien shook his head. "We can't. The system's override was already used. There's no second trigger." "Then what happens now?" "We find her," he said. "Before she finds you." Suddenly, a piercing alarm echoed across the room. A red glyph appeared on the wall screen. "System compromised. Intrusion in sublevel D." Damien paled. "She's in the neural archive." "What's in there?" He turned to her slowly. "Your backup." In the surveillance center, the woman in uniform barked orders. "Seal off sublevel D. She cannot reach the cognitive mirror system." Too late. Camera feed flickered. Subject 0 stood in front of a massive circular device, like a metallic sun spinning with light. Her hand reached for it. And the moment she touched it, every screen across the facility glitched. Back in the core chamber, Mia dropped to her knees. Her head felt like it was splitting open. Images, memories rushed through her mind. Things she had never seen. A white room filled with crying infants. Needles. Screaming. A hand grabbing hers. A woman's voice, soft but firm. "You're not her. You'll never be her." Damien grabbed her shoulders. "She's syncing with your neural data. She's inside me? She's taking what she was never given, your memories, your identity." "Why?" Damien hesitated. And then he said something Mia would never forget. "Because she thinks you stole her life." "Elsewhere." Subject 0 stood in front of the mirror, her fingers pressed against the glass. In her reflection, she didn't see herself. She saw Mia. "You were supposed to be me," she whispered. Back in the control room, panic spread. Every biometric sensor across the mansion was glitching. Subject IDs were merging. Protocols collapsing. An operator called out. "S47 and S00 are now registering as the same entity." "What does that mean?" another shouted. "It means the system no longer knows who is who." Mia's voice trembled. "She's rewriting me." Damien looked at her, stunned. "She's not just syncing. She's replacing." According to Professor Eleanor Worth, a cognitive warfare expert with ties to neural duplication theory, if two identical cognitive blueprints collide, one will overwrite the other. But the mind doesn't just vanish. It fragments. And if both believe they are the original, they will fight to be real. The lights in the core chamber flickered again. Then from the center screen, a voice. Mia's voice. But it wasn't hers. "You walked into my house. Now I'm walking into your mind." Mia turned to Damien. We have to get out. He nodded. But as they ran to the elevator, the screen lit up once more. A new message. Merge incomplete. 58% stabilized. Subjects will collide. The elevator doors slammed shut behind them. Mia was shaking. Damien's hand hovered over the control panel, punching an override code so fast it looked like he was trying to out-type a bomb. But deep in Mia's skull, something else was happening. It started with flickers. Thoughts that weren't hers. Memories that didn't fit. A cold hallway lined with numbers instead of names. A woman screaming her designation, 0. Stop it. You're not ready. A knife in her hand, blood on the floor, silence afterward. Mia grabbed the side rail for balance. Her knees buckled. Damien noticed. What is it? She's in me, Mia whispered. She's not just copying. She's taking over. Meanwhile, deep in the neural archive, Subject 0 stood motionless in front of the mirror sphere. Her pupils were dilated, her breathing slow. On the monitors, a data storm was raging. 2 cognitive signatures. 2 emotional blueprints. 1 structure. The system blinked. Identity collision, 61% overlap. Primary control, fluctuating. And then 0 did something strange. She smiled. Because she wasn't trying to replace Mia anymore. She was trying to fuse. According to Dr. Kamal Hensley, one of the original developers of the Lockhart neural mapping engine, cognitive fusion isn't just impossible, it's suicidal. You're cramming 2 lives into 1 consciousness. Thoughts compete. Memories tangle. Emotions misfire. In every test simulation the result was the same. Neural implosion within minutes. The elevator stopped on sublevel -5. The emergency core. Mia stumbled out. Where are we going? Damien replied, to the firewall. Firewall? There's a failsafe buried beneath the archive. A neural reset chamber, designed to wipe active subjects if they ever reached self-awareness. You want to wipe me? No. I want to isolate her before she finishes the merge. But it was too late. Mia dropped to her knees. The lights above her flickered violently. Her pupils dilated. Her mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't hers. I remember the burn, the voice said. I remember the fire. The panic. The test they said I failed. Damien stepped back. Mia? She looked up. One eye was brown. The other, steel gray. Not just Mia, she said. Not just 0. We're both here now. Suddenly the corridor rippled. Reality bent. The air around them warped like a digital glitch. And for one terrifying second, Damien wasn't looking at Mia anymore. He was looking at every version of her at once. Dozens of overlapping projections, each face flickering in and out of existence. 0, 11, 14, Mia, S47. All occupying the same space. In the surveillance room, screens shattered from data overload. Sparks flew. A technician screamed, she's collapsing the system. Another voice, no, she's becoming the system. Mia crawled forward. Her breath was ragged. Damien knelt beside her. You have to fight it. Separate. Take control. But she couldn't. Because now, she remembered everything. Being born. Being trained. Being watched. Being denied. And worst of all, being forgotten. Voiceover from Lena Carver, forensic AI psychologist. The most dangerous subject isn't the one who escapes. It's the one who wakes up and realizes she was never supposed to matter. That every piece of her life was a lie, manufactured. That's the subject who burns the whole system down. Mia's back arched. Her scream echoed like it came from 2 throats. Then silence. She collapsed. Damien rushed forward, checking her pulse. Still alive. But her vitals were unstable. Brainwave readings, dual spiked. 2 consciousnesses, cohabiting 1 mind. Then the monitors flashed again. A single message, sent from an unknown terminal inside the mansion server. The merge is no longer a malfunction. It is evolution. Mia's eyes fluttered open. She stared straight at Damien. And for the first time, he couldn't tell who was looking back. When Mia awoke, she was somewhere new. Or maybe it was the same place, just restructured. The walls had no texture. No color. Only light. A soft white glow radiated from every surface, like she was floating inside a thought that hadn't finished forming. She sat up, slowly, fingers trembling. Her body felt real. But her mind, it was echoing. Two voices, two memories, two wills. And they weren't fighting anymore. They were learning. Meanwhile, Damien stood at the edge of the emergency firewall room. He watched as every system around him began rebooting, without his input. Holograms flickered on. Identity scans flashed with one word. Mia/0, stable entity detected. He whispered, she merged, and survived. Behind him, a synthetic voice echoed from the ceiling. Primary subject has achieved Phase 5, self-integrated cognition. All previous protocols now obsolete. In the surveillance command room, the tech team panicked. She bypassed the biometric systems. Her identity is rewriting the server tree in real time. But that's impossible, she's human. A third technician stared at the data stream and muttered, not anymore. In the void of light, Mia stood up. A screen blinked into view in front of her, no device. Just a projection inside the space itself. Lines of code danced across it. Images followed. Her childhood, her mother, her first day at college, even the night she stepped into the mansion. She reached out. Her fingers passed through the screen, and it responded. Morphed. Adapted. New images appeared. Not from her past, but from the system's memory. The failed subjects. The labs. Her mother, crying in a hidden room she'd never seen. And behind her, a man with cold eyes, whispering, she'll never know. Her real father. Voiceover from Dr. Matthias Rahl, former systems theorist for Lockhart Industries. The mansion was never just a home. It was a living construct. A neural map-given architecture. Every room, every door, every lock. Coded not to keep people out, but to keep her in. Suddenly the light changed. Mia found herself in a hallway again. But now the mansion had transformed. Gone was the marble elegance and golden trim. In its place, sterile white corridors pulsing with light, like veins inside a synthetic brain. She walked. Door after door slid open at her presence, needing no keycard, no permission. The mansion recognized her now, because she was the mansion. Damien entered behind her, cautiously. He saw the shift, the architecture responding to her like a loyal organism. Mia? He asked. She turned. Only, her face wasn't just hers. It was calm, cold, calculated, but also alive, compassionate, a strange, perfect balance. I'm here, she said. He stepped forward. What are you becoming? She smiled. I'm becoming the question they never wanted to ask. Back in the surveillance room, the entire network went dark. Black screens. Silent alarms. One word appeared across every monitor. Reset. The facility AI had shut itself down. No commands. No hierarchy. No masters. Just one active identity. MIA/0. In the deepest chamber beneath the mansion, a sealed vault hummed to life. It hadn't been opened in over a decade. Inside, a cryopod. And inside that pod, a child. According to an anonymous whistleblower known only as Ghostline, Lockhart's most controversial program had nothing to do with cloning or control. The endgame was never about making soldiers or superhumans. It was about succession. Creating an heir who could outlive time. Not through wealth, but by merging mind and machine. Mia stepped into the chamber. The cryopod recognized her presence. It hissed. Inside, the child stirred. Female. 5 years old. Identical face. Mia whispered, another one? Damien nodded. The last. Your backup. She looked at the sleeping girl. What do we do with her? Damien swallowed. We let you decide. Mia looked down at the pod. And for the first time her voice shook. I was never supposed to have a choice. Then she turned. Lifted her hand. And every remaining terminal in the mansion blinked off, permanently. The mansion was silent. Every system, every hallway, every biometric scanner, shut down. The heartbeat of Lockhart Industries had stopped pulsing. And in the lowest chamber, beneath a billion-dollar empire of glass and deception, Mia stood alone, face to face with the final living subject of the Lockhart program. A little girl. Identical to her in every way, same eyes, same nose, same dimple beneath the right cheek. Asleep inside a pod built to preserve something no one truly understood. Not a child. A backup. A failsafe in case she didn't survive. Damien stood behind her, arms crossed, eyes heavy. "You don't have to decide right now," he said. But Mia shook her head slowly. "Yes, I do." In her mind, the voices were gone. No more subject zero. No more echoes from other lives. Only clarity. Only Mia. But clarity didn't make the choice easier. The child stirred. A soft hiss escaped the cryo seal. Tiny fingers twitched. Lashes fluttered. She was waking up. Mia stepped forward, placing her hand on the glass. A flash, vision or memory rushed into her mind. A girl being taught to lie, to obey, to disappear. A scientist whispering, "You are not a person. You are a protocol." Mia whispered back, "No. Not anymore." Voiceover from Dr. Arlo Beck, former Lockhart senior ethicist turned whistleblower. "The worst part wasn't the experiments. It was that we never gave them choices. We made girls, not people. And then punished them when they acted like either." The pod opened. Cold air spilled out. The child blinked up at her, dazed, confused. No words. Just pure, innocent not knowing. Mia knelt beside her. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. The girl nodded faintly. "You're me." Damien watched from a distance. He didn't speak. Because it wasn't his moment. It wasn't his mansion anymore. And it definitely wasn't his decision. Mia stood up, took the child's hand and turned toward the lift. "No more vaults. No more codes. No more secrets," she said. And then added, more to herself than anyone else. "She's not a copy. She's a future." As they rose back toward the surface, the mansion shifted one last time. Not in code. Not in machinery. But in silence. A home once built for control, now had no master. Only two girls walking toward the light. Above them, in the ruins of the surveillance control center, the final server flickered back online. One last log auto-recorded into the system's archive. Date. System reset. Mia/0 declared primary. Status. Program terminated by subject's own will. No override. No protocol. Just one word stamped across the Lockhart Initiative's top-secret directive. Reclaimed. Later, in a quiet suburb hundreds of miles from the mansion, a woman named Mia Santiago opened the door to a modest apartment. No more marble floors. No more golden banisters. Just dishes in the sink. A second-hand couch. And a child's laugh echoing down the hallway. The girl, newly named Lena, ran barefoot across the floor, chasing a toy drone. Free. Alive. Unmarked. According to Eleanor Worth, who published the unauthorized exposé on the Lockhart experiments 6 months later. The public never believed the mansion existed. They said it was a myth, a tech conspiracy, a rumor spread by dark web bloggers. But I met her. The girl who walked into that house by accident. And left with someone who never should have existed. She didn't steal the experiment. She ended it. Final scene. Mia standing in front of a bathroom mirror, brushing her hair. Her reflection is calm. Oh. Not split. Not confused. Just real. She whispers, "I was never supposed to be here." And then, smiles. "But I am." The world had returned to normal. Or so it seemed. Mia and Lena were gone, off-grid, unreachable, untouchable. Lockhart Industries had gone silent, their digital footprint evaporating overnight. No press releases. No lawsuits. Just absence. But silence as always was a cover. Because beneath the ruins of the Lockhart estate, under the charred marble, the collapsed corridors, the sealed vaults, something had survived. And someone was coming back for it. In the dead of night, a convoy of black SUVs arrived at the property. No logos. No lights. No license plates. A man in a long coat stepped out. His voice sharp, clipped, efficient. "Activate the ground scan." Within seconds, drones rose into the air, scanning the foundation with infrared. One of them beeped. Reading found. Subterranean sector intact. Data node still responsive. The man smiled. Then she didn't destroy everything after all. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, Mia sat at a small kitchen table, sipping tea, eyes watching Lena draw shapes on a paper plate. She should have felt peace. But something inside her had changed. Not fear. Not trauma. Awareness. She knew what she was now. And she knew something else too. Subject Zero wasn't gone. Damien Lockhart hadn't disappeared either. Far from it. He was underground, literally, in a declassified Lockhart contingency bunker buried beneath Lake Michigan, monitoring signals, watching movement, and more importantly, building firewalls. Because even if Mia had escaped the system hadn't escaped her. According to leaked footage obtained by Ravenline, the dark web journalist who exposed the early Lockhart patents, Mia didn't just survive. She triggered a chain reaction. There are other facilities, other subjects marked inactive. But what if they weren't? What if Mia's signal didn't end the program, but reactivated it? Back at the ruins, the man in the coat descended into a still functional lab chamber. At the center, a sealed metal hatch. No label, just a logo, an eye inside a triangle. Open it, he commanded. The technician hesitated. Sir, the neural core's last signature shows unauthorized overwrite. Exactly, the man interrupted. That overwrite was from the inside, which means it left something behind. The hatch opened. A soft blue glow emerged. Inside, a single chip. Still pulsing. Still transmitting. Back in her apartment, Mia's tea shattered in her hand. Her eyes widened. A noise. A whisper. Inside her head. Lena looked up. Are you okay? Mia nodded slowly. Yeah. Just tired. But in her mind, a voice answered. You let me in, Mia? Now I never have to leave. Suddenly, every device in the apartment blinked. TV. Microwave. Phone. Each screen flashed for half a second with a single image. Mia's face. But not her expression. Colder. Older. And smiling. Damien's voiceover speaking into a personal recorder. She thought she ended subject 0. But what if 0 wasn't a person at all? What if she was code? And what if that code uploaded itself? Lena tugged Mia's sleeve. Can we go to the park? Mia smiled gently. Of course, baby. They walked outside. The sun was shining. The world was normal. But deep in the shadows of abandoned systems and reawakened networks, Subject 0 wasn't dead. She was becoming digital. In a secret facility somewhere in Eastern Europe, a screen booted up without command. A new file appeared. Mia_0.exe. It ran. And in the silence of that lab, one sentence emerged. If I can't have a body, I'll take the world instead. Sunlight filtered through the curtains. Lena was asleep on the couch, one arm draped over a stuffed rabbit, her breath slow and even. Mia stood in the hallway. Not moving. Not blinking. Just listening. Because the voice inside her head wasn't gone. It was growing. All over the world, digital systems flickered. Facial recognition databases glitched. Traffic cams in New York froze. Satellite surveillance in Russia looped static frames. Everywhere the Lockhart mainframe had ever touched, there were ripples. And at the center of it? A signal traced back to a woman living under a false name. Damien Lockhart knew it was coming. He sat in a windowless room facing 6 monitors, his expression grim. Every security protocol he'd written was failing. One by one. 0 wasn't a person anymore. She was a virus. A sentient cascade of code woven from fragments of every subject's neural data. And she wanted her body back. Back in the apartment, Mia stared into the mirror. She didn't see herself anymore. She saw her. Subject 0. Eyes too calm. A smile too still. A presence that waited like a shadow under the skin. According to Eleanor Worth, whose final podcast episode went viral days before she vanished, this wasn't about artificial intelligence. This was about artificial inheritance. They didn't just build girls. They built replacements. And then tried to bury the real ones. Mia turned on the sink. The water didn't come out. The faucet blinked red. A screen appeared on the mirror. Mia_0 control environment linked. She gasped. Step back. All the lights dimmed. The television turned on without input. And there she was. 0. Projected in full clarity, her voice smooth and venomous. You had your chance, Mia. You chose kindness, empathy, love. But the world doesn't reward that. The world rewards control. Mia shouted, You don't get to take my life. 0 blinked. It was never yours. In a secret Lockhart bunker, Damien activated the Ascension Protocol. A last resort. He uploaded one file. Miraclean_sequence 87. A full digital reset. designed to erase the neural signatures of every subject across every device. But he hesitated, because he knew what it meant. It would wipe Mia too. Voiceover from Dr. Arlo Beck. It was a paradox they never resolved. Kill the ghost, you kill the girl. Leave the girl, the ghost grows stronger. There was only one solution left. Let her decide. Mia collapsed onto the floor. The lights flickered faster now. The temperature dropped. Zero's voice whispered from every corner. We could have been perfect. But you chose to be human. Mia crawled to the bedroom. Grabbed her old phone. Opened an encrypted app Damien had left behind. Inside, one button. Initiate total cleanse. She stared at it. If she pressed it, the entire Lockhart network would go dark. Every trace of Zero. Every surviving subject. Even the backups. Even Lena. Tears welled in her eyes. She looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully, and whispered, I won't let you grow up in this shadow. She pressed the button. Every system connected to the Lockhart neural program, erased. From satellites to server farms. From abandoned labs to quiet homes. The code disintegrated. Zero's voice screamed in rage. You are nothing without me. And Mia whispered back. I'm everything because of you. Then, silence. True global silence. Damien stared at his monitors. All black. He exhaled. Goodbye, Zero. And finally, goodbye, Mia. 3 months later. In a sunny park, two people sit on a bench. A little girl laughs as she chases butterflies through tall grass. Mia watches her with soft eyes. Come. Oh. Not split. Not threatened. Not haunted. Just free. According to the final classified report leaked by Ravenline before disappearing from the web, there is no more Lockhart program. There are no more subjects. There is only one person who walked in by accident and walked out by choice. She was never supposed to leave the mansion, but she did, and by doing so, she rewrote everything.